Good morning, Alisal. Welcome to almost the end of August, Friday, August 28th. Welcome to the LivestreamPD. We're happy to see you, although we can't actually see you. Doesn't work both ways. So today our session, as you saw in your emails and your write-up, is called Key Tools Update. But before we get started, typical reminders. Thank you so much. You're all very good about emailing at tech@alisal.org. And honestly, this assures the fastest possible service because it goes to the entire department instead of just going to one person. Things get stuck in my inbox and then I feel awful that the teacher had to wait. But if you go to edtech@alisal.org, fastest possible response usually. So we have a couple of awesome announcements, and this is the first one. Do you need a second screen? I'm sure you do. The adapters and all the equipment are finally in. You can get a second monitor to plug in to your MacBook, and it will act as a second screen. Instead of mirroring the display where you'll have the same thing on both screens, you will do what's called extending the display. So what you need to do is put in a help desk ticket requesting a second monitor and the adapter. And as soon as they're able to get to them, the techs will deliver them to the sites. If you're not currently working from the site, you may want to put in your ticket that what day you can be on, or just simply state that it's okay to leave it in your classroom and then you can go to your school site to pick it up once the tech says that it's been dropped there. So once again, second monitor, I know you need it. All the stuff's finally in, so there you go. Submit a help desk ticket today. Spread the good word. The next thing, and I don't necessarily have a slide for this. This is a black slide where this announcement was supposed to go. So I'll just leave it on this. Was after the live stream today, look in your email for a sort of survey evaluation. We're looking for some input on the live stream about what sort of content you're looking for and you need. But also we're looking for some input on scheduling. We've got some feedback from teachers and from coaches and principals and assistant principals. And we'd like to get some sort of, now that we've done this for a month, we've gone 4 times. Some of you still might want us to move it around. Some of you are like, nope, I've scheduled around it. Some of you are like, I don't care. I watch this asynchro from the website, record it anyway. So in any case, there will be questions about scheduling, but there'll also be questions about content and what you'd like to see in the live stream. So that will be in a separate email, direct email to you after the live stream happens today. Okay, so now that I've taken very little time and given as much as I can to George and Celia, we have key tools updates with George and Celia from the EdTech department. So take it away, guys.
All right, let's see if we hopefully can see my screen on here. Welcome everybody. Welcome to a Friday. We don't think that this PD will take too long because it really is. We didn't want to necessarily show anything brand new, any brand new tool to you. We wanted to go ahead and give you an update on some of the tools that we've actually been discussing since last year. So as always, you have the bit.ly here to this presentation in case you need it. And you know, please send those questions on in if something comes up that you have questions about. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First, we wanted to go ahead and share with you some pretty exciting updates that have taken place for Seesaw over the summer. And some of you I know are already using them. So it's great to see them in action as we visit your digital classrooms here. So the first update that has come up during the summer for Seesaw has been this to-do list here. So now you students, when they have activities now, there's actually 3 categories: the to-do list, in progress, where drafts are saved, and then done. So that is a new feature. They will see it there. Students will see it there. And you know, as I described on there, the to-do list are activities that have been assigned but haven't been started. In progress are activities perhaps that I know that some of you don't have students turning their work till the end of the week. So, you know, this is where activities that have been started but not turned in, that maybe are to be turned in. There are multiple pages, several dates. You might want to turn them in at the end. They will be saved in this section in progress as drafts. And finally, when students, if students want to review what activities they've already completed, they can go ahead and click on that category too. So it's a neat little filter there that you probably will want to let your students know what's there and give them a little tutorial next time you have them in Seesaw in case you haven't used it yet. All right, the second piece, it's actually a pretty powerful piece on here, is video. Now you are able to actually add video on the canvas straight from there. You will see the option when you click on the camera icon on here that you can record video, and now you can actually add video, a separate video on each page that you have. So if you have 5 pages and each page might require the student to do something different, you can actually record yourself with instructions, voice instructions, and put one on each page. So again, a video on each one. Just one little disclaimer there. There's only one video allowed per canvas, per page on the canvas. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. And I just thought, some ideas that I've kind of already seen the way that videos are being used. And again, here's an example that you can see here. You can use it for directions. If you want to give students an example of what they should be doing, you can embed a video right into their work. If you want to give them an example, you can go ahead and give them an example also, and of course, feedback. If you want to give them feedback, you can actually, a student could do the work, and perhaps for those little ones that are non-readers, you could record yourself, give them feedback as to what they need to do, or perhaps even what they did correct. So it's a very cool tool. And again, just like this video function works the same way, you can actually add, if you have multiple pages and perhaps on page 3 of the activity or the pose, the student did something incorrect, or perhaps did an exemplary job, you can actually just add a video on each of those on each of those pages. So hopefully that will help you. And the third one, this one's actually pretty exciting because it has now allowed linking in Seesaw. And in Seesaw now, you can go ahead and add links to text boxes or labels. You can add links to pictures. So if you insert a picture on there, you can add a link to there. And you can also add links to shapes, as you can see here. So how do you do that? It's actually a rather simple process. And what you want to do is, the first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and insert either a text, text box that you want, a shape, or an image. And an image could also be your picture, by the way. So if you take a picture of yourself, you can go ahead and link that. All right. And then what you want to do, you want to go ahead and right-click on your mouse there, on your trackpad, right? So however you have your right-click set up on your MacBook or your PC here, you want to right-click it. And you will get the option to link, and you will just type in or paste the link in there, and remembering to always confirm that is correct by pressing the green check mark button. So that is how you link items. That's how you link items on the canvas. What I have seen people do with regards to linking is they've actually created like something that might look like a Google slide, and they've actually, have links in there that lead to each activity that they have to do. So the students really will do the link, will have one place where all their work is done, and in there you can now link activities. So yes, we'll share a little bit more about getting those links to activities in case you don't know how to do that a little bit later on. But yeah, so you can actually have one place where all the activities live, and students don't necessarily have to be clicking on different places to get to those activities, especially those the little ones that can get easily lost. This is a pretty powerful piece, and this is more for actually, this is for school-wide administrators. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and play this, and hopefully the audio will play. We're going to go ahead and give it a shot here because it's only about a 2-minute video, but it actually gives you some pretty awesome, a pretty awesome tool for school-wide communication. So let's play it and see if we can hear it.
Seesaw for Schools administrators can now send school-wide announcements. Research shows that school culture thrives when administrators build strong relationships with their school community. School-wide announcements on Seesaw allow you to engage with your teachers, students, and families quickly and easily, so you can connect more frequently about the amazing things happening in your school. Send school-wide announcements from the admin dashboard. In the Announcements tab, click New School Announcement. Select your recipients, choose teachers, students, and/or family members. Send to all classes, or click Edit Classes to send to a select few. In addition to a typed message, add multimedia attachments using Seesaw tools. Perhaps you record a video encouraging second grade students to meet their independent reading goal. Maybe you take a photo of students exemplifying a school value and add a caption with details, share PDFs of important information with teachers, or use the drawing tool to make logistics and reminders more engaging. Plus, families using devices set to a language other than English have the option to translate all typed text in one click. After you send an announcement, you as the original author can make edits to the content by clicking the 3 dots. No need to sweat over that typo. You can also see who has viewed your announcement on the bottom right. What do school-wide announcements look like from the teacher, student, and family view? Teachers and students see school-wide announcements in the School Announcements section of the Inbox tab. Note that replies are not supported at this time. Families receive notifications of your school-wide announcement per their notification preferences. They'll see announcements as a message from the administrator who sent it. Replies are not supported here either. Get more support by searching for school-wide announcements at help.seesaw.me. See you again soon here at Seesaw.
Yeah, hopefully, administrators, you'll see this as a really cool tool that you can use now, because now you can send school-wide announcements. And I did want to share a big shout out to Mr. Gutierrez, principal at Barden, who has been the first principal who I've seen has actually used this tool. So big shout out to you. And here's an example of his school-wide announcement to families. So big shout out to Martin. So those have been the updates to Seesaw. And before, Celia, I don't know if before we kind of go on to the updates to some of the other tools, if we have any questions that we want to take, or we just want to push forward, Celia? Has anything come in? Right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and pass it on to Celia, who's going to talk about some of the updates to Google Classroom and some of our other tools. It's all yours, Celia.
Thank you so much. So we're going to start with Google Classroom, and just a little kind of preview and some smaller, I think, updates. Google for Education put out this tweet a while ago, and so they just pointed out that some new things in Google Classroom include a slightly different view of a to-do list. So last year, at the end of last year, we mentioned how there's a to-do list for teachers where you could see all the assignments that have been graded, all the assignments that you still need to return. It still functions the same way, but the interface is a little bit different. And so you might want to check on that to-do list if you're using Google Classroom. There's also a way to join a class with a link now, which we don't necessarily need because we can just add students in manually ourselves. There are languages and other things for back to school with Google Classroom. But I did want to include this particular connection between Google Classroom and Seesaw. And so if, for example, you use Google Classroom with your students and they're used to the interface on there, but there's something in Seesaw that you want them to do. So what you could do now, which is new, is you would open the Seesaw activity, like you see here, and you can get a link to direct students to this particular Seesaw activity, which then you would post onto Google Classroom, for example. And so the Seesaw activity is just like any other activity. There's nothing different about it, except that now under the 3 dots, you could get a student link. So you would go to the 3 dots and click Get Student Link. That link is a direct link to this Seesaw activity. So if I sent this link and I posted it in Google Classroom, when students click on it on Google Classroom, it'll take them directly to the Seesaw activity. So now they don't have to, log into Seesaw from their portal. They don't have to click on the correct classroom, go to activities, find the pending activities, open the activity, click on add response, right? Like there's just some steps that will automatically take them to the activity to make it, again, just a little bit easier, especially for younger students where you just don't want them doing all that clicking. You want to take them directly to an activity. now you can get a direct student link. So that's new. Is there a question, George?
So yeah, I wanted to add that this is what I referenced earlier. So this is where you would get the link, and you could actually add this link into Seesaw now on shapes, pictures, or text. So you use this. This is where you would get the link and then paste it into that into my earlier example. Just wanted to share that.
For sure. I've seen that a lot with like choice boards, right? So if you had a blank canvas on Seesaw and either pictures or shapes, text boxes, then you could set that up as a choice board where like one item, one element on your canvas is directly linked to one activity, and then another one is linked to another activity. And so you end up just making like choice boards. I've seen that a lot lately. But anyway, so we have that new for Google Classroom. Jamboard. So last year, we also introduced Google Jamboard as an option for an interactive whiteboard. And there have been, again, a couple of updates to Jamboard. They're small, but very useful. There are some new tools. So first off, there are now text boxes. And so on your Jam, which would look like this, one of the tools over here now is this text box. I'm not sure if you all remember, but last year when we first introduced the tool, there were no text boxes. And the only way to get text onto the Jam is to use the sticky note. And the sticky note had some limitations. And so some people requested that we have just like a standalone text box. And so this example here where it says, look, I'm a text box. It's a text box. And so you can still add the sticky notes. That's still an option. But now you have the option of using just straight text boxes on Jamboard. You also have a new tool in the form of shapes. And so now right above the text box tool, you have different shapes. And once you insert the actual shapes, you can customize them as you see here in the background. You can fill them with one color or have them transparent. You can change the color of the outline. So like in that sense, they are customizable, and then you can move them around. And so all you need to do is click on the shape icon to insert a shape and select your shape to add it onto your Jam. So that is new as well. Jamboard. Oh, also, again, when we first introduced this, we had given you some examples of implementation ideas, and there was one specifically where we had, I think we were using sticky notes, and we had a bunch of random numbers, and the task for the students was maybe to order them or to sort them. And I mentioned that when pasting sticky notes or pictures or any type of element onto your Jam, the way that you add them on is their static order. There was no way to bring them forward or send them back to sort of mix them up. So that if you wanted a student to sort numbers, you would essentially be doing it for them if you just place them on the canvas in order. And there was no way around that. Now there is. And so Google has added the ability to manipulate the Z order, which is just how elements are stacked on top of each other. And so if you insert shapes or images or sticky notes, anything, right, any element, you can now change the order of how they're stacked on top of each other. And so you would just click on the item, go to the menu under order, and then you can either send it back, send it forward, however you need them ordered. And so that is available now. It's also very useful. I remember at first being like something that I wanted. Google has listened, and now we can do it. Screencastify. There are a couple of just maybe a reminder and something that is a little bit new. This one is probably less new, but in case you've missed it before, it's maybe a reminder that whenever you create a screencast on Screencastify, Once you're in the video editor and you're reviewing your video, there's a button over on the right-hand side where you can share directly to Classroom. Again, it just saves you that extra step of having to get the link, make sure it's copied from your drive, make sure the sharing is correct on your drive, and then going to Classroom and starting to it just saves you some steps. And so you can share to Classroom directly from Screencastify once you've done your recording. So just a quick reminder there, that one's probably less new. This one is definitely newer. And I do just want to mention that we've said this since we started emergency remote instruction back in March, that a lot of these things are ideas and we're giving you suggestions, and you don't necessarily have to, for example, use this particular feature of Screencastify. We have Screencastify available, and it is very nifty, and it helps with organization. But if your students, you don't see your students being able to access this yet, then please don't feel like you need to do this right now. But this is a quick little video that explains what Screencastify calls submit. And so it's a way for students to submit videos to you as assignments. So if I ask my students, gave my students an assignment, create a video about this, Screencastify Submit makes it really easy for me to collect and for students to submit those videos to me. So I'm going to play this really quickly. It's very short, so you can get a quick overview of what it is. That was not playing. There we go.
Students can already screencast using the Screencastify extension in Chrome, but Screencastify Submit is a new option that creates a link that students can use to record and submit videos to you. No Chrome extension is required, and those videos are neatly collected right in your Google Drive. To try it, go to screencastify.com and choose Products, Submit. If it's still in beta, choose Request Early Access, which typically takes less than 24 hours. Once you've received an email with your confirmation, you'll create new assignments at app.screencastify.com/submit. This address will also be included in your confirmation email. Choose New Assignment and enter your assignment details. Click Next and set the recording type, which can be screen and microphone, which is ideal for what I want since the visuals on the screen are a key element for students' presentations. Alternately, you can choose webcam and microphone if it's more important to capture the visual of the student as they present or speak. Enable or disable the email notification that lets you know when a submission has been made, and decide if you want students to be able to view each other's submissions. If you leave it as off, only you, the teacher, can view student submissions. Click Next, and that's it. Simply copy this link to post in your Schoology or Google Classroom course or on your website. And when I click Done, I can see the assignment listed in my assignments, and I can copy the link here too if I need it later. Let me switch to Student View. Students will click on the Screencastify assignment link. I'll just paste it in here. This will prompt them to sign in with their Google account if they are not already signed in. And students will not need to install any extensions. They will simply choose Turn on Mic and allow access when prompted by Chrome. Students should then open their presentation or any other visuals that they want to use during that presentation in a new tab. And when they're all set up and ready, they just go back to their Screencastify tab and click Record. Students will select the screen thumbnail that they want to share. Typically, screen 1 is the only choice. And if there was a video or audio included in the presentation itself that they wanted to share, they can put a check in this box. Students get a 5-second countdown, which gives them a chance to switch to their presentation tab if they want. And a note at the bottom lets them know they are recording, as does this icon. For Google presentations, if students are planning to go full screen, it's definitely best if they choose Hide on this message, or sometimes the stop recording is triggered when they go full screen by mistake. After that, students can enter present mode and begin presenting. When they're done, they go back to their Screencastify recording tab and choose Stop. Notice they also have an option to start over if their first attempt didn't go so well. And similarly, after they click Stop, they will get a preview of their recording and can also choose to start over or submit it. Once submitted, students can download their own submission, share it to Google Classroom, or view other student submissions. Clicking on that will take them to the Drive collection folder where each student submission is collected, and then can be opened by double-clicking on it. It can take a few minutes for each video to be processed so that it is viewable on Drive. From your instructor panel, you'll see the status of the assignment and number of submissions. You can use the three dots to close the assignment so that new submissions are not accepted, or to edit the assignment details. If you click on the submission, you'll be taken to your Drive folder where all those submissions are housed. To make it easier for students to view each other's submissions, if that's something you want, I also recommend creating a shareable link to this folder and posting that in your online platform so students can get back here easily, especially after you close the assignment to new submissions. Screencastify Submit is still in beta, but seems to be a great option for streamlined screencast and webcam video submissions from students.
So in short, really Screencastify Submit is just you creating a link. A link as an assignment, then students get access to through Google Classroom or Seesaw. They click on the link and they are automatically recording for that assignment. But it streamlines the way that you receive those submissions so that you have them all neatly packaged, essentially. Again, it's just an option, and definitely new to Screencastify. We are getting pretty close to the end, so this is actually our last section of an update on Flipgrid, and it is just a couple of really quick things. So if you have any lingering questions, I do see that we have some questions which we will take at after Flipgrid, but if there are any more, send them in as we're finishing up. So this section on Flipgrid, this tweet was sent out by Flipgrid over the summer. And so they have updated the user interface and some of their tools. So like they have added some camera features, for example. And so now there are, I think, some added filters and stickers that they added. So again, just like some extra things from last year. The dashboard looks a little bit different. I'll give you an example of that in just a second. They've updated the library where you can go and find some assignments. These tweets, by the way, are linked. And so if you wanted to, for example, like go in and like look at this actual tweet, you'll see that now I can, versus being out here, I can click on this image, which is linked. So if you have the presentation open and you want to watch this little video, for example, you can definitely do that. But here's an example of what I mean by there are some small little changes. And so on your educator dashboard, up at the top, you now have a tab for discussion. In the tab for discussion, you also now have what we're calling groups. Groups is what used to be called grids. And so again, last year when we first introduced Flipgrid, you made grids. And you made grids which were essentially groups of students, aka your classes. So if you had multiple classes, you could have multiple grids. And inside of those grids, you created discussion topics. Now, Flipgrid has changed just the naming of all of those. And so on your educator dashboard, you would go up to discussion. And now your groups of students, right, those grids that you've created, they're not called grids anymore. So now we're just using the word groups. But I think it adds to clarification that, right, if you have groups of students, then those are your classrooms essentially, instead of using the word grid. So just so you're aware that there's that small little change that hopefully will make it clearer, but making sure that you're aware. So there isn't any confusion even with those small little changes, because I don't know about you all, but I tend to notice. I'm like, wait a second, that looks different. and then it might confuse me. That being said, we're getting close to the end, and so I'm gonna ask for some help. George, do we have any questions?
Well, yes, we do. So the first one has to do with Seesaw. If you are not seeing the announcements, the question is, I don't see the announcements on my Seesaw account. So what we can do is we have your name and who you are, so we can look into it. But another thing that you might want to do is you might not be connected to Seesaw for Schools. So I will go ahead and definitely follow up on that. But if you do not see that, please contact us, because you do need to be connected together. If you're missing some of these features, it could be because you're not connected to Seesaw for Schools. So we can definitely help you with that.
Do we know what school that is, just off the top of my head?
We do. Let's see the school here that we have on here. Oops, I lost my oh my goodness, where did it go? I lost my screen here. Sorry, I lost it, Celia. Do you have the notes up?
I don't have school. Oh, the very first one.
Yeah, so we're looking into that. So that was one of the questions. Again, if you're ever missing some of these features that we mentioned, it probably means that you are not using the latest version. Sometimes, yesterday I ran into a particular person who was having issues, and it so happened that she was logged into Google with one account and into Chrome into a different account. So we'll definitely help you with that if that's the issue. But we need to know that those things are happening. We are looking into that. So we will go ahead and continue with that. Do you have another question, Celia?
Yeah, and just as a quick little, I'm wondering also, because I'm looking at VRB's account right now, Claudia, and I'm wondering if maybe it won't show up until there is an announcement, because it looks like there's an announcement tab from the admin side at VRB. So I'm wondering, but definitely check in with us, Claudia. If there's anything that we need to do to make sure you get those, we can definitely do that, but definitely not doing anything wrong. No worries.
The second question has to do with Seesaw, and it has to do with actually the family connection on here. So the question is, what do families need to, what should be happening so that families can see these announcements? Well, you have to connect them. They have to be connected to your Seesaw class. If you are probably, in first and above, you might already have some students and families that are already connected. But if you're in, kinder TK, maybe it's the first year that student in our class, you'll have to connect the families. And we have plenty of tutorials on our website, remoteinstruction.org, as to the process to be able to connect families. And of course, if you need additional help after you take a look at that, please contact us. All right, next one, Celia.
Sorry, I'm looking at people's accounts. I'm trying to multitask.
I'll ask it, Celia, and you can answer it.
Go for it.
Is there a way, and there's an echo, sorry. Is there a way for to copy, and I don't quite understand the question, but let's see if you can kind of give options others, because you can kind of give several scenarios here. Is there a way to copy an entire Jamboard?
Sorry, I'm going to share my screen just so you all can see what I'm doing. But if I understand the question correctly, so if I have a jam, let's see if I can find a jam in my drive. I can't. That's interesting. Maybe I should look up how to do that. If jamboard.google.com. So if you have a jam, and if, for example, I have, I'm gonna see the ones that I own. So this one, like I use just as Scratch when I need to make something, as you can see. If I want to copy the whole thing, meaning like, I'm wondering if it's like just like make a whole copy of it. That's what I'm assuming. But if we're misunderstanding, please write back in the questions and we will keep trying to address that. But very similar to any of the Google tools, you definitely can just make an entire copy. And so which we would definitely recommend, because again, as soon as I send this jam out to my students, they can start manipulating it. And there's no revision history. So like, yes, please do make a copy. And so the make a copy option is just under the snowman up here. You know, I've been thinking about maybe calling these donuts, you guys, just to like have everything. Like there's a waffle, there are pancakes, there might be donuts now. The snowman / donuts. If you just click there, once you've opened that jam, there's an option to make a copy. So again, that's literally just duplicating everything that's on your jam. So I hope that answers that question. Yes, George.
Another option, and this would work if you're using Google Classroom, is that you assign it to Google Classroom and you make a copy for each student, right? That could also work. I don't know if that's what the teacher is asking, but those are two ways that you can, you know, make copies, and perhaps you want to get this to all the students.
So I hope that answers that question. Yes, George.
Another option.
Celia?
Josh has.
So I was just thinking about your donuts comment, and
what's up?
the
Do you like it? Do you love it?
So I just, because I know a lot of our primary teachers went to K2 Can 2 for virtually in Canada. In Canada, what we call donut holes, they call Timbits, Timbits. So they call them Timbits. So the Canadians are with you in calling those donuts or a part of a donut. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's true. They look like donuts to me. Anyhow, I'm glad Canada agrees with me. Let's see if there are more questions.
So this one is something that we've been getting a lot, and we just kind of would like your patience with this. We keep archiving some of the classes, especially in those primary grades. I know it's hard for those little ones to walk into, you know, the correct class. And we keep archiving them for you, and they keep getting unarchived, sometimes a day later, sometimes a few days later. We just wanted to share with you that we are still working on a solution to that. I know that every time some of you have sent us requests to archive classes, we've done it. It just keeps happening. Hopefully we can find a solution soon. We apologize for that. So thank you for being patient and for sending in that question. So what we will do is, after I'm done with you, after I'm done here, I will go ahead and archive those classes to the person that asked for that, which was Miss, who was that? That was Miss Garcia there. So I'll work on that as soon as we're done here, Miss Garcia at Fremont. All right, ready for the next question, Celia? When using a Jamboard, what is the max number of boards?
Again, so I'm assuming that when we say boards, we mean frames. If I'm misunderstanding, please let us know. But so inside a jam, so the jam is the whole deck. And inside of the jam, these pages, right, are called frames. And when we first introduced the tool, and I just double checked just to make sure again that there weren't any updates, but when we first introduced the tool, we mentioned that the maximum number of frames is 20, excuse me. That's still true today. So there haven't been any updates to the maximum number of frames, if that's what we were referring to. So it's still 20.
All right, ready for the next one, and this comes from Miss Garcia. By the way, I'm looking here at the questions, and that's 3 Miss Garcias in a row, and it's a different Miss Garcia. So this is Miss Garcia at Creekside, and the question is, it's a little, I believe it's a little bit related to what we've already answered with regard to Jamboards, and it looks like what she was trying to do is she was trying to share a Jamboard, and she had to type in all her students' names to share it. So probably we would recommend, Ms. Garcia, is that probably the easiest way to do that is to share it through Google Classroom. That way, you know, all your students are already in there and you don't have to type them in for each individual Jamboard. You just go ahead and assign it through Google Classroom and you make a copy for each student and you don't have to type all those individual students' names in. So I hope that's helpful. And if that's not what you were asking, please, you know, send us a follow-up and email here and we'll go ahead and try to answer that for you. The next one, Celia, is this is what is the bit.ly? Can you repeat the bit.ly at the beginning again? And we will make sure, just so you know, as soon as we're done here, we will post, as soon as the video is done processing, we will post this on remoteinstruction.org, as well as the presentation for you, so you have access to that all the time. But let's see if Celia has it ready. Bought you some time, Celia. And it says, what is your bit.ly? I'm wondering, maybe you want to share two things, either the bit.ly to, obviously not the bit.ly to the questions that are coming in, so it must be the bit.ly to the slide deck. There you go. She is, sorry, she is showing it here for you. There's the bit.ly for you. Ask and you shall receive. Thank you, Celia. Then we have a couple more coming up before we finish up today. We know it's a little bit short, but let's see here. Somebody says here, I don't, so this goes back to not being able to record or send comments or returning work. So Ms. Mejia, I will go ahead and again, take a look at your specific account to find out what's going on there, to make sure that you are using the Seesaw for Schools, because you should have access to all those features, including being able to record, you know, the being able to send back work and comments, it looks like. So I will definitely take a look at your account, Ms. Mejia, and seeing if we can figure that one out.
Hey, George.
Yes.
We have office hours today.
Oh, yes. Thank you for, thanks for the advertisement, Celia. Yeah, so from 1 to 3, remember, every Wednesday and Friday from 1 to 3 p.m., we have open office hours. The bit.ly is found on an email that was sent to you on Wednesday along with the EdTech Weekly. So please, hopefully some of you also will join us then to try to solve some of these questions that you have that are very specific to your, you know, to you. Here's one. There's a thank you here, but it says I noticed that I noticed the other teacher link to my class doesn't have Jamboard. Jamboard for sharing. I want to keep. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to, Ms. De Leon, I think I'm gonna have to double check on you as to what you're asking, because you just kind of have something like a notice. It says that the other teacher link to my class, and I'm going to assume it's in Google Classroom, doesn't have access to it. So you may. I'm wondering if you need to give them, you know, access so that they're able to view it also, especially if that co-teacher is not a student in your class. So I'll definitely touch base on you on that one, Ms. De Leon. All right. It says, if I enlarge the view on the laptop but was not able to enter the meet, does enlarging prevent the meet function? Don't understand that question, Ms. Bacarita. So if you would like to kind of for us to troubleshoot with you one-on-one, we can definitely do that during our office hours. All right. Finally here, I think this is going to be our final question. And if any more come in after we close up here, we again, please join us during office hours today, or we will go ahead and email you back specifically to what your need is. So from Loya here, we have a teacher that says, Google Class from last year has assignments that I want to port over to a new Google Class from this year. How do we do that? Ooh, Celia, are you ready for that one? Because she's going to demonstrate this one live before we log out here. No pressure here. Here you go. I'm going to.
He's going to mute and I will unmute. Okay, so if, for example, let's say I'm going to make a new one on the spot. Why not? Made a new classroom. New. Oh, God, look at that. How easy was that to create a class? Oh, yeah, for sure. Just give it a second. Just gotta love all these live things, right? And let's say I'm going to create something. The trick here is once you're inside of your classroom, your new one, right? And you click on create, there's this option toward the bottom here that is reuse post. That is available so that if you had something that you did last year that you want to reuse, it will do that for you. And so if I were to click on that, it's going to ask you, okay, well, if you want to reuse something, like which class do you want to reuse something from, right? Like where do you want to take it from? And so this is taking a second to populate, but that's what it's going to ask you. It's going to ask you, well, okay, select which class, and then eventually which assignment do you want to, you're essentially copying it and posting it onto the new one. except of course this wouldn't be working right now, right? George and I had a very interesting technology day yesterday, so we're all on the same boat, folks. But maybe if I do it again, it'll work. But that's essentially what you need to do. Go to create, click on reuse post. See, now it works. Ay. And maybe I want to pick something from this classroom, pretending that that's last year because that's mine. So I know that I have assignments in there. And so these are some of the assignments that I had in that old classroom. And so what if I want to use this check-in again, right? I've already taken the time to make this assignment and write it out. And so all I would do is say, okay, this one, I want to reuse it. And so now, again, it's essentially making a copy of it, and it's going to paste it inside of this new classroom. So now I don't have to do any of this over again, right? It's already done. And I just push post and it's there. Boom, done. Love it. Hope that answered the question.
I think it did, Celia. I'm going to go ahead and mute here. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close this session. It's a little bit shorter than normal, but again, we didn't want to we're not trying to add extra work to you. So hopefully you found this update helpful. We will follow up on those questions that might have come in after, after we answer this last question. So, and again, remember our office hours from 1 to 3 p.m. today. You need that link. You can find it in the email that you received on Wednesday with the EdTech Weekly. I see Josh is unmuted, so I'm going to hand it over to him. Josh?
Yep. So, folks, a couple things. First, thank you for joining us. As you can see on the screen, the email has been sent. Please fill out the survey. You only get one vote, folks. Make it count. But seriously, that survey will help guide us in terms of scheduling, if we are going to make any. But I hope that you know by now that the EdTech department is responsive to teacher input. And also to get your guidance on and suggestions on content, because it is important to us that this adds value to your day, to your week, to your work life, and is not seen as another obligation. As George said, office hours will be today from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. There is the bit.ly to get your questions answered. And as you heard George say, some of the way the questions were written were a little ambiguous, so we're not sure if we answered them or we just plain don't understand. And some of them are very individual support, and the live stream questions are really meant to be for the content of the live stream, not necessarily one-on-one support. That's what office hours are for. See, we got you covered. In any case, as I say every week, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and be good to our kids. Have a great Friday. And have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being awesome, LSL. Bye-bye.